Welcome. Hello again. It's time for another Sharkfest.
Where is my treasure?
Let her go or you can find it for yourself.
Coming up in this episode of Schmat, Sharkfest.
Think about what you're doing, Rossi! What are you gonna do? Fight that shark alone? Where are they?
There was one point where I think Ian said, "Oh, didn't his leg come off?" And it was like, but that was actually a dream. That bit.
I thought he was mad. I was wrong.
Unfortunately, they've done it in a way that it makes Cannon's Alan Corbian seem like a high-budget movie.
If you're a fan of shark movies, this certainly isn't the worst.
I think we lost Carlo. I don't pay you something. Get them back home.
So, today we're going to be talking about a legend in his own lifetime. We're going to be talking about Mr. Baldwin, who's in this movie, the acting legend that is Stephen Baldwin. Yeah, yes, it's Stephen Baldwin is in this movie. It's called Shark in Venice. It's a movie set in Venice with a load of sharks. Can't get any clearer than that. But as ever, joining me on this quest for wonderful entertainment is our regular co-host, Neil Stringer, and also our special guest, Ian Lother. Hello, guys. Welcome to the show.
Hello there.
Sorry guys, I've got no time to chittle chat. I have to go and watch this movie.
That was the best line in it. No time for chit-chat. Did you know there was sharks in Venice? Well, if you did, you probably were told not to say there's any sharks in Venice, because in this movie, it's it's sort of Jaws meets Indiana Jones, but on a really much poorer scale. Neil, what were your initial thoughts when you were watching the movie? You know, like what was running through your mind when the credits rolled and we looked at this, because this is a mix of films that we haven't seen before in this kind of genre of shark films, and I wasn't sort of expecting it to be this either. What did you think?
Well, I had read that the shark just feels like subsidiary to a plot that seems to be more in line with an Indiana Jones meets a mafia hit squad movie. It's like there's this big quest to find this lost treasure, and the shark attacks just happen every so often in between scenes. Pretty badly
It's
executed.
a bit like they're kind of an afterthought, because they threw in scenes like the couple, the drunk couple, or at least when the guy was drunk. I mean, that was just thrown in as an extra shark scene, I think, and it was the composite of the shark. To be fair, most of the shark scenes where they're swimming about and just biting things and biting people, that's fairly convincing. But whenever the shark comes out of the water, there's like three different composites that I can see. Who knows what else there is? There's the shark, there's like fake water, and then the guy, his appearance is very stretched and squished, the image, so it's kind of not very convincing it there. But again, it's very random too, isn't it?
But then again, were the actual attacks any more convincing? Because all it was quick cuts of a shark approaching. In one shot, you don't know what was happening. It's just, it was just like shoom, 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 shoom.
There was one point where I think Ian said, "Oh, didn't his leg come off?" And it was like, but that was actually a dream. That bit,
but it wasn't.
That was also confusing. Yeah,
because there's none of him waking up going, "Shit, what happened?"
We'll have a pin camera and a transmitter with us. You can track us with the sonar.
Hi there, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel because we're on a mission to get 1,000 subscribers. Helping us to do so will unlock features on the YouTube channel, including monetization. Doing so will support the channel and help us create more content, better content, and be able to do more. So, enjoy the rest of the episode, and don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe.
And Ian, what was running through your mind when you saw it? I mean, obviously, we've done a bit of research to know what the premise is, but actually seeing it, you kind of think, how's this going to be executed? And it actually was, to me, relatively convincing in a sort of attempt at Indiana Jones. Sometimes you see these things and a lot of the thing they just talk about it, they don't actually show. But what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I've been on this podcast long enough to realize that you're going to find me some stinkers to watch, Johnny. I think I don't know how you find these films, but you do. So I didn't have any expectations going in that this would be good. For the first 20, 25 minutes, I was sort of intrigued because, again, it didn't seem to just be your standard shark movie. They seem to be going with a treasure hunt almost, which is different because the shark at times in this movie, plays second fiddle. So what else is going on? So the shark maybe isn't used as much as it would be in, say, Sharknado or some of the other ones we've reviewed. So in some ways I thought that would be good because you're showing sort of less. And for the most part, the shark looked pretty good until you needed the shark jumping out of water, swallowing people up. Then the composite looked terrible. So this is trying to be a shark movie and like a treasure movie. But for me, in the end, it just falls short on both fronts.
How would you summarize the film in one word?
Forgetful. You watch it, you go, it wasn't terrible, and then it just goes out of your mind.
So Neil, how would you summarize this film in one word?
Meh.
Vito Clemenza, thank you for joining me for dinner.
How are you connected to my father?
I helped finance his expedition.
Oh, I thought it was sponsored by the university.
Who do you think sponsored the university?
What is it you're looking for?
Treasure. The same one you found.
Where did you get that?
That is not important. What is that Il Tesoro is worth over $200 million. I need you to take us back to where you found it.
I'm not so sure I can do that.
Why not?
It's complicated. Down there's many tunnels. It can be very disorienting.
Doctor, you are the only one who has seen Il Tesoro in more than 5 centuries.
Mr. Clemenza, even if he could find his way back there, I wouldn't permit it. There are killer sharks down there. 10%.
$20 million. Look at this as a wedding gift. This is an advance of $2 million. A gesture of good faith.
That's a generous offer.
We're not interested.
You should show us a little respect, Signorina.
Doctor, it's obvious you are an intelligent man, and you are interested in your future. You don't want to disappoint me, right? Go ahead. Take it. That's a lot of money for a teacher.
Things happen it's like Stephen Baldwin doesn't even want to be there. It's so dull, and that that just sums it up. And even the actors, even the background people look like they want to be there. I mean, it's not just the black composites of the shark attacking people. It's the fact that when a shark comes out and eats a person on a gondola, the actors in the background don't even react. It's like, oh, it must happen every day in Venice.
Well, that's probably because they're not actors.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, if you saw a shark come out there, you'd be going, holy shit, what the hell happened there? You would go, oh, fair enough, it's just another day. But no, I didn't see anything.
It's an interesting concept. It's actually not unlike the swamp shark, where a shark is introduced to territory that it would normally be by some shady people. But I think it had potential to be good. I think, dare I say this, I'm going to be shot for this, Stephen Baldwin is not the right caliber of actor to pull that sort of thing off. You need someone with a bit of charm. If you think of things like King Solomon's Mines movies, and if you think of, Indiana Jones, like Harrison Ford, and you think of even like the Goonies and stuff, the people in those movies, those adventure movies, have character or charisma. Unfortunately, that's two things that Stephen Baldwin is lacking.
Well, what the film probably needed was his brother, Alec.
Yeah, I don't think they had the money for him. They spent it all on the sharks.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you've got it's like in the other acting dynasty family is you got Martin Sheen and his lesser known brother Joe Estevez. And obviously he's Steve Baldwin's probably in the caliber of Joe Estevez rather than Martin Sheen, which is probably where his brother is, if you want to do the comparison levels. But
I reckon Joe Estevez is probably a better actor than Baldwin, to be fair.
Yeah.
Given what you've just said, Ian, do you think that the story was engaging? The Stephen Baldwin and I believe it's his fiancée, and they basically are whisked off to Venice. There's the whole thing about they work at the same university, his father. Do you think any of that was engaging?
I thought it was, again, unusual for a shark movie to do that story per se, but at the same time, no, because it's been done 100 times before and with better actors.
It was executed in a mundane way, basically, here.
Yeah. At first you think, oh, this could be interesting, but there's just, you don't really care about any of the characters at the end of the day. They're not interesting.
And for such an expert, she didn't really give us much history of the treasure. I thought
See,
that
that's
was
the other thing.
lacking.
That's the other thing. I mean, there's a scene with a police officer and the two main leads, and the only way we know she's an expert is because Baldwin says to the cop, she's really smart. She doesn't really show it that much.
Oh, I can tell you who the best actor in the film was. It was the main guy.
Absolutely.
No, her. The main mafia man's her.
Yeah, he was very, especially when he put the sunglasses on. I was just thinking, he really fancied himself, didn't he?
That's the other thing. He sort of his own plot sort of comes back and bites him in the ass, really, because we find out that the reason there's sharks in Venice is he's put them in Venice to protect treasure that he can't get at.
Yes, because the sharks keep eating. The sharks keep eating the people that he sends through.
So it is kind of going, okay, I'm going to put sharks in the canals to keep people from looting the treasure there, but I don't know where it is either, and yet when I go and find it, I'll get killed by the shark.
He just puts the sharks in the water in Venice and hopes that they're somewhere near the treasure when people go looking for the treasure.
Yeah, it's not a very clever plan, but he does it. He just looked like Jeff Lynne from ELO to me. That with that hairstyle in particular, it's sort of 70s hairdo.
I mean, it is one of those things where it's a confident plan that doesn't really feel like you've really thought it out.
love me. You only want one thing from me. No, you tried to get me drunk. You are a bad boy.
And here's a quick look at our socials. On Instagram, we're at ChatSchmat. On X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it this week, we're at ChatSchmat. And you can email us, show@chatschmat.com. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.
Oh, and I would just like to say this video is not sponsored by Red Bull, just in case anyone thinks it is.
I know you should be using your specially made receptacle branded.
I should, and it is around here somewhere.
Yeah, there it is. Look at that.
Though, because non-sponsored content has to be pixelated. It doesn't. But I might just do it for a laugh.
Does that mean I have to be totally pixelated?
No.
Might
We
be
have the technology
Might be an improvement.
We can pixelate, individual things. The special effects and production values, cheap or effective. I was going to say this film, I was watching the end credits there. It said it was shot on Kodak film, which a lot of the stuff that we've reviewed was shot on sort of video, but it was HD video, albeit, but it was still video. So there's a different frame rate, different look. The film, especially the touristy scenes, and the scenes on the boat and all that, that's where, scenic areas, Bulgaria or Venice, wherever you happen to be, look good. The film just automatically makes, because of the way it captures light, it automatically makes, without much effort, the scenery look good. And I think it gave the film a richness, a much more sort of a quality to it that the others were lacking. I'm not saying that the others were any worse or better in terms of the rest of the stuff, but as you say, it shows up the other scenes that were composites. I think there was also
I think they were almost trying to be too clever with the editing.
Yes, but because what I was going to say was that there's scenes where I was going to say Alec Baldwin, Stephen Baldwin was in the boat, and he was about to get out and go and dive in, and they obviously looked like they'd shot some of that on location, and then they were doing like pickup shots or retakes or something, and it looked like it was a completely different setting because the lighting didn't match, and the bit where he's sort of going out to the back of the boat looked completely different,
which is a shame, because there is some of the movie does look good.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is what I like about films. Obviously we're hypercritical in these reviews because that's what we do here. But in terms of people putting the effort in, there's no criticism there. No. It's just the thing that lets it down as well as the editing. We've talked about this, but they throw in these cutaways to like a close up of their face, and they're obviously not in that scene. It's just they're taken from here and there. And the dream sequence, there's a scene where Stephen Baldwin, he's in the water and there's a shark there, but it doesn't make it clear because it shows like a leg being chopped off, and then the next thing he's in bed in the hospital or wherever it is. So, it's confusing.
The action scenes are edited quite sort of snappy cuts. And there was a few bits at the end where I wasn't sure what was going on. Mm-hmm. You had almost like all the police officers raid the building, but I wasn't sure who was shooting who at one point,
Even some of the establishing shots that they had, usually at something like that, would have a sweeping sort of aerial shot of the canals, and then you would have one of the building they were going in. And if they want to cut that short, you would fade it in. So you'd have a moving shot, and then you'd fade it into another similar moving shot, and then fade it into another similar moving shot. So it's a smooth kind of transition. Whereas that they did quick. So it was a quick fade. So it looked really amateurish. And why you would do that in a film is if there's a really nice location, and obviously they took the footage of that, but they did, so you don't get a visual idea of where they are because they have the shots move too quickly. Those shots were designed to be slow establishing shots. If you what they should have done is just have a static shot and do that. But because the shots were moving, those were designed, they were obviously shot as an establishing shot, and they're slow moving, smooth. You don't put 3 or 4 of those together and then just do that. It just takes you right out of the scene. And unfortunately, it's edits like that that bring you out of it. And you think, actually, yes, sorry, I'm watching a shit shark movie here. But what do you think, Neil? What are your thoughts on the production value?
Well, I feel like the quick cuts were used to hide the cheap effects, really, because obviously if you have quicker cuts, you don't see as much. Obviously, you can get away with more, sure. So I do, because I mean, I've nothing wrong with quick cuts, but the quick cuts are basically done the way you don't have a clue what the hell's happening. How did he get to the boat? Because certain things, because when he's going to the rubber dinghy, or you just see him get into the boat. You don't see him go. You don't see the shot of him spotting the boat, and then start up. He's just all of a sudden randomly there, and there's no. It just feels cut to the point where you just hope for the best. It's almost like Superman 4 style editing here. We'll just put it together, hope for the best.
The other thing as well is to confound the fact that the editing was so random. Just as the cast list at the end titles was scrolling up, they cut to another scene where the shark just, there's a boat or a gondola or something going along, and then the next thing you see is the shark, and then it just, does that, and then goes back to the credits. That should have been at the end, of the credits or something. That was like an end credit scene thing, but they sort of put it too early. That's another example of their poor thinking in terms of the shots and the scenes and where they should be. Stephen Baldwin's career's gone to bigger and better things, hasn't it? Oh no, wait. I bet you what I want to know is that Stephen Baldwin look at Sharknado, which came out a year or so after, maybe a bit longer, and said, those bastards, they're doing what I did, but they're making a career of it. Because he would have been able to sustain a career.
Well, Sharknado seems to be, out of all these low budget shark movies, I don't know what it is about Sharknado, but Sharknado seems to be the one where every actor, every non-mainstream actor wants to be in.
Because they're a decent
I think
idea, and they're totally ridiculous, so people remember them.
Yeah.
I think the other thing about Sharknado is that they tap into this sort of 80s action hero style of movie, mixed in with a family film, mixed in with ridiculous parody. And I think the other films, they start to obviously the first 2 Sharknado films are based on the lives of the people in the movies, and it's a sequel to the events. But I think as we move further into them, they parody genres of films and things. So that also mixes it up a bit, and you get all sorts of random things. So by mixing it up like that, it keeps it fresh and keeps it everyone's in on the joke.
Or this is trying to be something else. In fact, it's as if this was it's as if where Sharknado knows it's trash and it's having fun with it, and that this here is like trying to be a bit higher brow, and probably figure it's better than it's probably figure it's more smarter than it actually is.
But also, what do you think about if you look at, say, the events of Sharknado? I mean, you could market that and change that. Whereas if you look at the Venice stuff, how many times can you have sharks swimming around? If you're tying it to that, now you get a more Stephen Baldwin as an Indiana Jones wannabe adventures, but then you wouldn't necessarily be able to keep it shark themed. I don't know, maybe you could, but
obviously I think they want to do an archive film. the studio says we have to have sharks in there, and they probably go, okay, we'll just have a few sharks in Venice there. And we'll just cut away to them a few times to let people know there actually is a shark attack happening, and then we'll get back to what we want to do.
Well, it appears that your father and two of his colleagues were diving in a restricted area, and a boat hit them as they were surfacing. Now, is either of these two men your father?
What did you say was the cause of death?
I didn't. But we were informed it was a boat propelled from one of the buses.
But you don't believe that.
Well, that was the report.
Oh, this was no propeller.
What do you mean?
Well, if what happened to these two men happened in water, then Lieutenant Toady, this was a shark. I've done enough work in water and seen enough attacks to know that these lacerations were not caused by any boat.
When we perform the autopsy, we'll know for sure.
You told me you were going home.
We were going home.
Well, that's a lie, because you went to see Clemenza.
Two of his people showed up and invited us to dinner. They said it was about my father.
And?
He offered me a job.
All right, what kind of job?
What difference does it make, Lieutenant? They've got Laura. Some kind of an underwater excavation. I told them no.
Okay, what are you hiding?
I'm not hiding anything.
Mr. Franks, okay, I want you to understand one thing. Here in Venezia, we are very serious about people that do business with the mafia.
This is ridiculous. I told them no. Now, the guy who took Laura, his name is Rossi. He works for Clemenza.
Okay, come on.
Where are we going?
I'm taking you back to your hotel.
What about Laura?
The film company that made it, New Image, they changed their name soon after that to Millennium Films, and that's their name today. But the New Image, they made, I think it was the late 90s, something like that. I haven't seen it, but when I was reading up about the, why they made this film, they did a film called Shark Attack. I think that's what it's called. And so I think they wanted to try and, get in on the shark game whenever it was more films were being made. But they had a shark film already. It's not on our list, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but I think we got enough on our plates with it all. But I just thought it was interesting, that they'd already done shark movies,
Okay, boys, I'm the referee. Who's ready for a fight? You two, what's your name? Jimmy. What's your name? Tony. I want a good, clean fight. Ready? Yeah. Go!
But the other question I want to know about Big Shark is, will he pay for a billboard to be kept up for the number of years that he kept up that picture for the room? But apparently he paid for that there to stay for years after the film was released. So is he going to do the same with Big Shark?
I somehow don't think it has the same ability. Apparently he wanted to film it in London, but it didn't happen. So I think maybe probably because of the pandemic, but we shall see. But you can trust me, if it's available, we'll review it for our viewers and listeners.
But then again, Thomas will probably have millions of subplots that will go nowhere.
So, Ian, what do you think of the film? Like, in terms of when you were watching it and then whenever it was over, were you thinking to yourself, please will this end, or were you thinking, well, it's all right, it's not that bad? If someone's watching this, do you think it's a kind of boring watch, or do you think it'll be keep someone's interest?
I do think by the time it's coming near the end, it's starting to drag. I do think it's interesting to watch once, just because they're trying to mix the shark movie with the sort of Indiana Jones treasure hunter type thing. So I think that's interesting. But again, as I said, to me, it's forgetful. once you've watched it, it's like, oh, it's almost a missed opportunity, I think, in some ways. With better editing and maybe a couple of better actors,
Yeah.
it might have been something.
Because at least Jaws Revenge had Michael Caine in it.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really save that, did he?
I'm just trying to imagine this film if Alec Baldwin had done it. There'd be
Mhm.
more nuance and range if Alec did it.
There was no there's no box office information on this. Couldn't get any viewing figures or even a budget, so it's difficult to we usually like to try and sort of speak on that if we have the information.
Maybe we need a team up from Jason Statham from The Meg and Stephen Baldwin from Shark and Venice.
I need to watch The Meg. I've never seen The Meg.
There's a sequel to it, so that'll be probably on our list of things to do.
Are
when we get more
all the
time.
shark movie heroes team up, the Sharkables?
It's The Meg, so obviously I'm assuming The Meg's a good film then.
Yeah, The Meg is fun, actually.
Meg.
Meg,
It's entertaining, yeah.
definitely. Why aren't we watching that? At least that'd be good.
We will watch this. We will watch those eventually.
I want the viewers to save me from having to watch these movies by going to the comments and saying, Johnny, stop showing terrible movies. Watch this instead. This is good, and give your suggestions, because I don't know how much more I can take. Neil, you're the co-host, right? Do you not get some say in what we watch?
Well,
take time, man.
Oh, we are talking about short films, and as I said, Little Breast, that's not doggy poo yet.
Plug for our upcoming episode. Doggy poo. You heard it right, folks. It's coming.
That's a Christmas one.
Yeah. Have a shitty Christmas.
From Schmat.
Well, about the film then, so to sort of conclude, this is snappy summary time. Ian, if someone said to you, what about this Shark in Venice? How would you describe it to them?
Ooh, sort of a poor man's Indiana Jones meets a poor man's Jaws film, maybe.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Neil, what about yourself? How would you summarize that?
Well, it's like some of the Hollywood producers. You go, we want to build this here, we want to build that there. So, we'll have that Indiana Jones vibe, and we'll have that Jaws vibe. Unfortunately, they've done it in a way that it makes Cannon's Alan Quartermain seem like a high budget movie.
It reminds you of an elevator pitch.
Yes,
it reminds me of an elevator pitch. They say, it's Indiana Jones meets Jaws. We've got Stephen Baldwin in there as well. Dynamic character. That's the way they pitched it, and they didn't then develop it any further than that. Oh, and there's some mafia in there too.
I know which actor could have elevated this film. Eric Roberts.
Actually,
that's not a bad shout.
Yeah,
he probably would have been pretty good in
it. He'd bring up to a new level.
But how can he say capiche in like an Italian accent?
But he'll wear fancy clothes and he'll always say he dresses for the occasion. But but everyone thinks of Julia, but it's Eric Roberts, so we need to have this film. Eric Roberts.
2008, wasn't that around the time of The Dark Knight?
Yes, and King of the Crystal Skull.
So he's he's got Eric Roberts had a part in The Dark Knight, so he's doing better movies at this point.
Yeah. Wasn't he also in the first?
Well, King of the Crystal Skull.
The first what?
Wasn't he also in the first Expendables film as the villain?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He was running from explosions. But what I was thinking was this is 2008, so that's the year King of the Crystal Skull came out. Do you think they went, Indiana Jones is back, let's cash in on that, and that's the Shark in Venice?
Well, that's the thing, if they're trying to, if this was a theatrical release from from our deductions from the information we got, how limited it was in there, I have no idea. But if you imagine that in the cinema, and then Kingdom of Crystal Skull in cinema, and then because at this point we didn't think Indiana Jones was going to disappoint in any way, and then you get this film, you think, well, who am I going? Harrison Ford or Stephen Baldwin? Who am I going to watch first?
Yeah.
What about the female leads?
Forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that cop woman who
She
turned out
turns
to be a-
she turns bad for like 10 minutes, and then she decides to turn on
And
the
they
bad
write it
guy
off.
again.
Ray
Yeah.
Winston's character, she ain't, you know, the one, you know, like Ray Winston's character in King of Crystal Skull, who pretended to be a double agent, but then he was obviously just playing along, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main girl was kind of forgettable. I mean, after the tour guide scene, she's basically just the damsel, isn't she? But then she redeems herself by grabbing a gun, shooting some people.
Yep.
At least he was consistent throughout the whole film with his lackluster performance.
He was.
He's constantly bland.
Which, you know, it's better. I mean, I said he had his normal, you know, monotone type voice and a shouty voice. Those were the two Stephen Baldwins that we got in this film. The kind of, you know, he kind of talks like this, you know, well, we're reviewing a film here, but you better watch it. You better watch it. And then he punches people in the face quite a lot. He just didn't have any fighting skills or any finesse, or, you know, that's what I mean about, you know, any kind of charisma. He didn't have any kind of charisma whatsoever. You know, there was no suaveness. So if you look at people like Val Kilmer, even Christian Slater, people like that, they've done swashbuckling roles. Johnny Depp, you know, there's a certain thing that they do, a presence for those characters. There was none of that here. He was just going through the motions.
Yeah, I mean, even Dustin Hoffman would have been much better to hear on this one.
It's interesting because I'm not sure maybe that's what they were going for, though. You know?
I think I know what they were going for. I think they were going for a Steven Seagal type movie. You know, the way Steven Seagal always plays that, you know, throaty kind of, you know, I could kick the shit out of it, you know, no problem type character. I think they were kind of going for that, but then giving a bit of romance, where Steven Seagal's not really one for that, you know. Where he loved his fiance. You know, they were trying to mix and match different things, and he just played them all the same, really, you know.
What does it take? So the guy was going, what's the take to kill a shark?
And that's it, yeah.
I'm just a university professor.
And when he offers him the $2 million as well, he's kind of like on a teacher's salary, you know.
Now there's credibility. There's a lack of credibility there. Could you buy Steven Seagal as a university professor?
As much as I could buy you as one.
No, I don't think he doesn't really, or his fiance for that matter, because we don't really see any evidence of her doing that. But
oh yeah, we know what her job is through exposition from Stephen Baldwin. Other than that, there, who was she again?
You know,
his fiance.
She gives doesn't she give a wee bit of background on the treasure?
I thought
she only gave about a couple of lines of dialogue to establish the fact that it exists. But
I thought the voiceover was going to be his dad.
Yes, there was a flashback, but it was from his note. It was from his notes, but she did say, you know, she did give some knowledge, but that's what I meant earlier. It's not. She doesn't. You know, when you look at Indiana Jones and his father, and they exchange knowledge, you know, they're talking, and even in the new Indiana Jones film, you know, there's an exchange of knowledge with the characters. There's no exchange of knowledge there. She gives a little bit of information just to confirm that is the so-called treasure, but she doesn't give any of the. It's, as I said, it's done through the notes, but there's no evidence that she knows this. That's what I was really meaning. Like you know the way when you write a scientist, they rattle off, blurb and stuff like in Doctor Who. Whenever the actors
Back to the
talking
Bible.
about as if they're supposed to know.
Okay, well,
There's none of that. There's none of that here. There's none of that. I mean, I know
She does stare at her. She does stare at her like a radar screen, so it makes you think she might know how to work that.
well, the policewoman was helping her with that, and also, that was technology. That wasn't. That didn't say to me this woman's very smart.
No.
I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say that she didn't appear smart, but what I'm saying is he's building her up to be this expert, and there was no.
And
He
she
didn't
doesn't
say
get
she's
to
an
show it.
expert.
Yeah.
There's no. They don't allow her to be an expert. If you look at Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Indiana Jones, she at least knows the subject about that dial. She's obviously whatever the reasons for knowing that, she's able to go into his class and sit in the back and pretend to be a student or be
a knowledgeable student. Yeah,
exactly. She's the only person in the class that actually shows interest to that. So that to me, that shows someone with an interest. That scene there, the boat and stuff, doesn't really show that.
No, it doesn't.
And even at that, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a controversial figure, but even while at that, there, at least her character has a function.
You had to get that dig in there, didn't you?
I knew it was coming.
I was only talking about the character on screen, not the person who's portraying it, just to give an example of the fact that you can do that sort of thing well. It doesn't take much to show that someone knows stuff, whereas they didn't do that in this production.
Yeah.
They just, I think it's down to
some
of it seemed very rushed.
Yeah,
some of it seemed very rushed. So I don't know if it was like a rewrite or maybe they cut the scene where she did do that. Who knows? But it's a minor gripe. I mean, the rest of the film, was all right in that sense. It was as confusing as the rest of it. It's consistent in that sense, isn't it? Yeah, so I mean, there's not much more we can say about the movie, but I would say, like Ian said, watch it once out of curiosity. A lot of these films don't really have a rewatch value, but certainly watch once, maybe with some beer and some snacks, But other than that, it's nothing spectacular, but it's definitely not one of the worst.
I think if you've seen, if you're a fan of shark movies, this certainly isn't the worst.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you put it on an hour and a half. Within a day or two, you're probably going to go, "What's that about again?"
The film didn't quite work for me, but you might watch it and go, "You know what? Stephen Baldwin is the greatest actor in the world." You never know.
Everything Stephen Baldwin learned, he learned from his brother.
And on that note, just remember, you can email us. Don't forget to comment. I always try to say that. Comment in the comments. We'll try and reply. You can email show@chatschmat. But for me, until the next time, and there will be a next time, it's goodbye.
Again, guys, this was an interesting one. Thanks for having me, and I can't wait for the next one.
This has been a very interesting one, but unfortunately, I also have to shoot on.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
My God, man, stop interrupting me.
Don't interrupt the king.
Do you think you're the host or something?
No, I just want this for the edit so I can get your one in as well. So Ian, who are you?
I'm Neil.
But I just wanted to mention that because people.
Your mouth isn't moving now, John.
Some people say that's a blessing.